All right, everyone, we are going to get started so that Asher can get in everything he had planned for us. Asher and I are on two different coasts of Florida right now. I'm at my parents' house in Parkland, Florida, and Asher's in our home in Naples. So this is exciting that we get to at least see each other tonight. I'm going to mute everybody, but please feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question. Asher doesn't mind being interrupted. If you want to use the Q&A function at the bottom, if you don't want to interrupt, if you prefer to type it, you can type a question and then I will share those with Asher either in the midst of the discussion or at a later time. And then we will save some time at the end for general questions. All right, so I'm going to mute and then I'll turn it over to Asher to begin.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Good joining. We'll talk today about the Israeli election, the results. It's not over yet. It's went now to the Supreme Court, and we'll go over a few of I'll show you a few scenes from the Knesset, and we can start. Just a second. All right, some of you probably know, but we'll do a quick reminder. As you know, the government in Israel is the way to form a government in Israel. It's different than here. It's not necessarily, and we're going to see it now. It's not necessarily the party with the bigger, with the more votes get elected can form a government. There is a quick video that will explain it, and then we'll continue.
What's the Knesset?
The Knesset is Israel's parliament. It's where all important issues are hotly debated and laws are made.
You don't elect a president?
No, Israel is a parliamentary democracy. That means that citizens elect representatives to the Knesset, and the prime minister is chosen among those Knesset members.
So who do people vote for?
They vote for the party they like, not individual candidates.
Do they vote for representatives of their city or district?
Israel is very small, so the whole country is a single constituency. The 120 Knesset seats are divided proportionally to the number of votes that each party wins.
Do you have a lot of parties?
Yes, Israel is a very diverse country, and Israelis have very diverse opinions. In the last Knesset, there were 11 parties. But there is a basic threshold, meaning that each party must get at least 3.25% of the votes in order to enter the Knesset.
And who gets to become prime minister?
The prime minister is the leader of one of those parties.
The party that gets the most votes.
Usually, but not always. In Israel, no party ever got an overall majority of the Knesset seats. This means that the party leader who has the best chances of pulling together a viable coalition is chosen.
So who can run for office?
Every Israeli citizen over 21 can run, unless a court specifically restricted this right. Also, parties or candidates can be disqualified if they negate Israel's basic identity or incite to racism. That helps Israel's democracy protect itself.
So Arab citizens can be elected?
Of course. Many parties have Arab Israeli candidates on their list, and there are also parties composed entirely of Arab Israelis. Discrimination is forbidden by law in Israel. Actually, this year, the head of Israel's elections committee is an Arab Israeli Supreme Court judge.
Who can vote?
Every Israeli citizen over the age of 18.
So Arab citizens vote too?
Of course, every citizen. That means Jews, Muslims, atheists, Christians, Druze, Circassians, Baha'is, men, women, the list goes on and on.
Is it hard to vote?
No, Israel does everything possible to make the process fair and easy, and to encourage everyone to vote.
How?
Well, first of all, Election Day is a national holiday.
No work? No school?
No.
Cool. But do you have to travel far?
No. As I said, Israel is a very small country, and there are more than 11,000 polling stations.
What else makes it easy?
The Israeli system is low-tech and user-friendly. All you have to do is pick a small slip of paper with the 2 or 3 letters that symbolize your favorite party and seal it in an envelope.
And voting is completely free, fair, and secret?
Definitely. Israel strongly believes in freedom and democracy. Everything is done to ensure that all Israeli citizens are free to vote according to their own conscience.
So who's going to win?
Nobody knows. The only thing certain at this point is that Israeli democracy will win on election day.
So it's not necessarily that the party with the most seats will get elected. As for Netanyahu, yes, he's here with us since the 90s. And there is the image of the winner, which is true in many ways. But he lost many times. For example, here, if you guys remember Livni from Kadima, in 2009, she got more votes from him than him. Even now, recently in the election, in 2019B, he got 1 seat less than Blue and White. But the key is to be able to form a coalition, and that's where he's a step ahead. He understood it long ago, probably in the 90s, after he lost to Ehud Barak in 99. He understood that the party, the size of the party, it's matter, but the bloc is what's really win the election. And that's where the rest is probably behind it.
Sure. We have a question from Felicia asking, she says, I understand that Israel has one of the world's smallest parliaments. Why?
It's 120 seats. It has to do with our biblical roots. Size-wise, I don't know the other parliament size. It's definitely smaller than U.S. and England. England is very similar to the Israeli parliament in the parliament, but I don't know about other sizes. It's just that, again, Israel, the whole country, now it's 9 million. And it's not, as the video showed, it's not divided to areas. It's on one area voting. Only 9 million people. Question? So the last election is, some of you guys were in the last time when we talk a little bit in the election, when we could meet together in the synagogue, and I mentioned how complicated it will be and what can happen. Some of you who remember about Netanyahu trying to break Blue and White, the party. For a simple reason, they went to a third election because none of them, not Netanyahu and not Gantz, were able to form a coalition, were able to get 61 seats. Okay, there were two options on the table now. Okay, for Gantz, one option is to go and try to form a coalition with the Arab party. Okay. Without them, he doesn't have a majority. The Arab party, it's an interesting story by himself. They usually don't take part in any coalition for ideological reasons. It's make it official that they recognize the right of the Israeli government. And other stuff, as Gantz said many times, that is in security. Security, he's very leaning right. So they're having, they weren't able to sit, they never sat in a government. But the idea with them, and it got very close to a close deal, is that they will not sit in the government, but they will support from the outside, which means they won't take a part of the government, but if the opposition will try to take down the government by getting majority in the Knesset, they will vote with the coalition. The agreement that they got with, they were very close close with the Gantz, of course, it's a lot of budgeting, funding to their cities, education and roads, and something that their people are waiting for a long time. We'll talk about it a little bit later about the Arab Party and the Arab citizens. The idea that Gantz tried to do, what they tried to do, is to have a majority and then to pass a law in the Knesset before there is a government form, before they form a government, to pass a law that will not allow Netanyahu to be a prime minister. Okay? So there is a time that the president give to a Knesset member to form a coalition. In this case, it was Gantz. In this time, they wanted to have question?
No.
In this time, they wanted to be able to get more than 61 votes that will say that a prime minister that have open cases in court against him will not be able to be a prime minister. And in this case, they will be able to move Netanyahu away. It still doesn't mean that they have majority, but now they will not break the word that they gave to their voters, saying that they will not sit with Netanyahu because he have bribery charges against him and so forth. The thing is that they promised very clear to their voters that they will not sit with the Arab Party. They will not have them have any kind of support from them, and in any way. Gantz says it many times. I don't know if he believes in it, but his advisor told him, if you want to move voters from the right bloc to the left, you cannot say that you are counting or leaning on the Arab votes. So what happened is, in his own party, there were people who were against it. So he didn't even have all this party, all these Knesset member in Kahol Lavan agree with it. Okay, you need to understand the Kahol Lavan, the whole party created. It's a mix. It's a gathering of 4 parties with the only one common thing, main, and it's anti-Bibi. Okay, and they don't hide it. So think number 2 in Kahol Lavan was Netanyahu's Minister of Defense. He's very right wing. Bogi alone was the chief of the army. Another one in Gantz party in blue and white was Netanyahu's advisor. They have another one that he's not settler, but in Kippa Sruga. How would you say? National Orthodox. And then they have people all the way from the left. It's really a mix. That the common thing they have is no Bibi. By the way, the other side is the same. It's only Bibi. It's really we can get into it later. He couldn't form them. He couldn't get this idea running. And then the second option was to join Netanyahu, which he promised very, very clear as well, that he will not do it. He will not sit with someone who's in charge in bribery. And not only that, they went to another election, the another 2 elections, because they didn't want to form a coalition with him. So now you're going to sit with him. Why the country had to go through another 2 elections if you could do it in the first time? Yes? There was a question?
No, that wasn't a question. That was just someone writing.
Okay, you let me know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now Bibi came in. Bibi, what he did, he started working, and if you guys remember, when we spoke about it, he started working behind the scene in breaking blue and white. Okay. At the end, he was very successful. He broke them not just to 2, he broke them to 4 almost. And he didn't just broke blue and white, he broke the left party. He got the Labour Party to sit in the government. Okay? There is no, I won't say there is no left, but the Labour Party, the big party of Rabin, sitting there they have only 3 seats now, and they sit with Bibi in the government, with Netanyahu. Blue and white, they have fights in between them till now, but they're done. And
Sure. Do you have the chart that shows the different?
yeah.
I think that would be helpful to put that on the screen.
Yeah. So if you go to this election in 2020, okay. Now again, this is last week or 2 weeks ago they signed an agreement to sit together in the coalition. But some of you maybe know, yesterday and today it's still in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court sent them back to change some subjects, some points in the coalition agreement, in the government agreement. The Supreme Court basically is checking now, or they're talking about the fact, or the fact if he can even if he can even get to be a prime minister, if he can get elected because of the outstanding charges or no. So it's still in court. Those are the results of the last election. Okay. Just a second. The Likud has 36 seats. The Orthodox, I combine them. The Orthodox, it's the Sephardic Orthodox and the Ashkenazi Orthodox. Together they have 6 seats. The blue is the coalition that is forming now. Right is the right-wing party. Gantz, former blue and white. I split it for you guys. So Gantz and Lapid were together. Okay, but now after they split, this is Gantz took his 17 members and Lapid took his 17 and his 16 seats. They sit in the opposition. Lapid, former blue and white. Meretz, the only left Zionist party that left in the Knesset, only 3 seats. Just as a reminder, Meretz and Labor ran together and got 7 seats together, right? Bibi was able to break them to get the Labor into the coalition. They took their 4, it's actually 3, but we won't get into too much details. 4, and Meretz, of course, stayed in the opposition. The Arab party with amazing jump, 15 seats, which make them now the third. Before the separation, they were the third biggest party. They will be, if they use their power correctly, can be a different in the Israeli Arab community. And then Lieberman, who is now announced that he will be running for prime minister next time there will be an election. And Lieberman, it's a big question mark. It's in many ways, it's something personal with Netanyahu. There is no really, now that's an opinion. There is not much an ideology behind it. He was sitting with Netanyahu. He was Netanyahu's, Netanyahu brought him to politics. He was the Minister of Defense. He's a right wing. He announced that he's a right wing. He's very known to be much more right than Netanyahu. Why he didn't?
Sure.
Yeah.
Whenever you're done with that sentence, we did have a question come in. If you could just briefly review each of these parties. You can leave that up, but just say a few words about each of the parties. Who's the leader and what is sort of they stand for? How do they differ from each other?
Sure. The Likud party is the party of Netanyahu, right? It's the biggest party. It's the party of Menachem Begin and Jabotinsky, and Netanyahu, the prime minister from this party from in the past probably 10 years, since 2009 in straight. Orthodox, I put them together. I didn't want to make it more complicated, but the Orthodox, it's dividing to to 9 and 7. Okay, the Sephardic Orthodox, Shas, have 9 seats, and the Ashkenazi Orthodox have 7 seats. Right, it's the right-wing party. That's not the extreme right. That's the only right to the Likud, which is more center-leaning right. So if blue and white were center-leaning left, Likud is center-leaning right. Gantz and blue and white again separated. Labor Party. That's a big story. In 92, when Rabin formed the government that went to the Oslo Accord and did the agreement with the Palestinian in Oslo Accord, the Labor Party got 44 seats. 44 seats. Now they're down to 4 after what happened after Oslo Accord till today. Meretz at that election had 12 seats, right? And by the way, it was just back then, Rabin's coalition was Labor, Meretz, and the Orthodox. They were sitting in the government, they were sitting with Meretz, they didn't mind. They have demands, they request what they need to their sector. They received it, Meretz agreed, the Labor Party, Rabin agreed. They went to Oslo, they were able to pass Oslo because of them, okay? 44 and 12, it was 56. They didn't have majority. That's why the Sephardic Orthodox were sitting with them. The Arab Party is also a very interesting story. The Arab Party is not one, it's a mistake. Just like in the Jewish population, it's not, they don't all think the same. It can be that there is one party, all of them thinking the same. And it's not, it's a mix of 3 parties. One of them is a radical Muslim, I would say, or more Islamic leaning party. Another one, it's more, I would say, secular Arab party. And another one, it's a communist party. And there is a communist party in Israel. It's a communist party. They have about 3 of their representatives. And it's a mix of the Communist Party. It's also, they have a Jewish Knesset member, Jewish representative. But they found out that when they join forces, they get the end with a lot of help from Netanyahu. Netanyahu's actions before this election, the election before, caused the Arab population, the Arab voters, to go out and vote. They didn't used to go vote a lot, maybe 50%. I think it's still more than here. But in the Jewish community, in the Jewish population, it's close to 70%. And they went to vote, and they got 15 seats. And the projection is that if there is election again, they'll probably get another seat or 2. And more so, and it's also interesting, that they are now being looked as the only left or the main left party in Israel. Look, the Labor is 4. The Labor is sitting with Bibi. Meretz is down to 3. The Arab Party seems as the left, but are they really left? They have Knesset member who have 2 wives, but that's more political issue of what's left and right. And it caused because they had to join together. If each one of them will run by himself, they might not pass the threshold, which happened a few times before. Each one of them will get between 3 and 4 seats, and 4 seats is the minimum that you need to get in order to get all the 4 seats, in order to be in the parliament. If you get 3 seats, none of the votes count. They go to a different. They are divided in different parties. Lieberman, again, we spoke about him a little bit. A big question, right wing. When Netanyahu will step aside, he's looking at himself. He sees himself as the next leader. There are many people who see themselves as the next leader of the right. What will happen after, and if after Bibi, and we don't know. Some people saying that only the Messiah will replace him. So we don't know yet. Questions? Questions? No?
Yeah, Asher, 1 second. Let me unmute. And I think Paul has a question.
When we
Yes, Paul.
decide whether Bibi is innocent or guilty, and once that decision is made, what effect will it have on the government?
So the law is very. Some people say it's not clear, but again, it's a matter of political opinion. First, let me start from the beginning. The trial going to start in May. It needs to start soon. It was supposed to start before, but because of the corona, it was delayed. Many blamed him for doing shelter in place because of his trial. It's supposed to start soon. If he's going to be convicted, he will need to. The law said that he will need to step down, but the law doesn't require a prime minister to step down if there is only charges against him, unlike ministers or Knesset members. And that's the big, not political. That's where the law came in play. How to read the law, how you interpret the law. Some of them come and claim, yes, but he's a Knesset member. He's not elected prime minister. He couldn't form a coalition in the past 2 elections, right? So he's only a prime minister. The law said that if you are the prime minister until a new government is formed. So he's basically a prime minister because there wasn't a new government that was formed. But he's not elected. And the law, it's a law that was changed way before Netanyahu came. And it's basically come to protect the Knesset, the parliament. Because it can be a situation where the district attorney is the one person who can come and open an investigation against the prime minister. So there is one person who can come and open an investigation and press charges. And if this one person, press charges against prime minister, before they changed the law, he had to step down, which is not very democratic. It's not balanced, right? I mean, of course, it have to be backed up with the evidence and stuff like that. But basically, you give the power of pressing charges and therefore taking down a prime minister just by one person who have the authorization to do it. And then if he didn't do anything, it doesn't matter. He's not a prime minister anymore. And it will take him a few years to come and prove himself not guilty. And then who's gonna remember him? I was trying to look for a video with translation to English about the meetings in the Supreme Court today. It was interesting. I couldn't find. It's too early to get subtitles. But they were discussing those issues. Is Bibi able to form? Is the Supreme Court? The question is if the Supreme Court even have the right to discuss this issue. Okay, because it's not only that he got the most vote from the people, Okay. Also, most of the Knesset member now who agreed to sit with him in the coalition, Gantz and the Labour Party, it's 79 seats from 120. It's a big majority. They come and say, we want him to be the prime minister. And now what? Now the judges will come and say, no, he cannot be. It's a big issue in Israel. It's a question if they even have the right to discuss this issue. And it should be over soon because they...
Well, he's going to trial in May, correct?
Netanyahu's trial, yeah.
If they find him innocent, he's innocent. But what happens if they find him guilty?
He can go to a jail.
And then he will no longer be prime minister.
Of course. You cannot be a convicted criminal.
When
Okay?
did
But as long as you're not convicted, you can. And that's
So-
how to protect people.
You're innocent until proven guilty. When do you think this trial will be over and we'll have an answer?
They're estimating it at a year.
A year.
Again, they estimated it at a year. Something to remember is that in the coalition agreement, one of the reasons Gantz was agreed to break blue and white and go into a coalition with Netanyahu is because Netanyahu signed on the unity government means that Gantz will be the prime minister in 2 years. It's actually a year and 2 months, I think they reduce it. Okay, so if Netanyahu will keep his word, he will step down in less than 2 years, and Gantz will be the prime minister. One of the critic about this agreement is that, are you going to believe Netanyahu? He's a genius politician. So a month before he need to transfer the prime minister, the office to Gantz, he will break the coalition and go to another election, and then he can rerun again. That's one of the critics. But if he will stand, if he will hold up to his word and the agreement, in less than 2 years, Netanyahu is done being prime minister.
Yes, if he's found guilty.
If
he's found guilty, he's out of the picture.
That's for sure. But even if not, in 2 years, with the agreement they have now, in 2 years, you need to. That's part of the agreement. That's part of the reason. That's one of the reasons they agreed to go into this coalition. They split the prime ministry office.
Okay.
Okay?
In your educated opinion,
The what?
in your educated opinion, do you think he's going to be found guilty, or don't you know?
It's just like you said. It's look. One of the charges is receiving a bribery from a news channel for good media cover. There are not many cases. I don't want to say there is not, but there is not many cases of a politician being charged or anyone being charged with a good media coverage in return for goods or bribery. It's very hard to say. I'm not an attorney. It's very hard to say. I don't think he's that. I don't think Netanyahu is corrupted as he represented in the media.
Asher, let's get back to the topic.
Okay,
I think
sorry.
we went off of
No
a little
problem.
bit of a yes. Thank you.
Now I have a few videos here. I think you guys will like it. Just about the work. It's a little bit about the work in the Knesset, the conflicts between left and right, between Arabs and Jewish in the parliament, Orthodox and non-Orthodox. Let's see one, and we can talk about it also. So this is a video. I'll explain it a little bit before we start. Okay, so this is the lady. You guys remember Meretz? That's the most left party in the Knesset, and Netanyahu. it's a rare video. You don't see Netanyahu much go to the Knesset and confront Knesset member. It's he's busy with dealing with Trump and Putin and worldwide. But this is a good view of his true beliefs on his the way he see the Palestinian conflict, the peace. It's short, but it show a little bit about his thinking.
מה שאני מציע לך זה אבא זה להכיר במציאות. אם תכירי במציאות תוכלי להתמודד איתה. אבל את רוצה לשנות את המזרח התיכון בהבל פה. רצית מזרח תיכון חדש, קיבלת אותו. זה האסלאם הרדיקלי, זה נמצא בכל עבר. זה כל שטח שאתה מפנה, אתה מקבל אסלאם רדיקלי. ואת רוצה להמשיך לפנות. כשאת מדברת על זמן מדיני, את רק מדברת על זה. על עוד פינוי, עוד שטח לאסלאם הקיצוני, עוד מנהרות, עוד טילים. לכן אני גורס אחרת. אני גורס אחרת. ביחס לחמאס, גרסתי אחרת ופעלנו אחרת. האם פתרתי את בעיית החמאס? בלי כיבוש מוחלט. בלי כיבוש מוחלט. אתה לא פותר את הבעיה, וגם אם תכבוש, יש לזה מחירים. האם אנחנו דנים באפשרויות הללו? תשובה היא, כן. האם נפעיל אותם? יש לנו כמה אלטרנטיביות, אבל אין לי אפשרות לטהר את המזרח התיכון סביבי מהאידיאולוגיות הרצחניות הללו, כשם שאי אפשר לטהר, לצערי, את סוריה או את עיראק מהאידיאולוגיה הרצחנית של דאעש, ואין לנו אפשרות כרגע לגרום, לצערי, לשינוי באידיאולוגיה האובססיבית של איראן, גם לגבי האימפריה האיראנית וגם לגבי ביטול קיומה של מדינת ישראל. לכן, בהיעדר יכולת כזו, אני צריך לבנות את היכולת שלי, להדוף אותם, להרתיע אותם, או להכריע את המערכה במקרה שנכפית עליהם. זו האסטרטגיה שלנו. זה מה שאני עושה פה. 20 שנה אני בונה, כמיטב יכולתי, את כלכלת ישראל, כדי שהיא תיתן לנו כלכלה צומחת, חופשית, טכנולוגית, עם תנאים נורמליים ליזמים, כדי שייתנו לנו את הבסיס הכלכלי לפתח את היכולת ההגנתית וההתקפית להגן על המדינה. בלי הבסיס הכלכלי, אין לנו בסיס ביטחוני. ושני הדברים הללו יוצאים לנו פתאום, כיוון שאנחנו מעצמה טכנולוגית, כפי שאמר לי נשיא שפין. הוא אמר לי, אתם מעצמה טכנולוגית עולמית. כן, הוא אמר לי, אנחנו 1.4 מיליארד, עברנו עכשיו 8 מיליון. הוא אמר לי, אבל אתם מעצמה טכנולוגית עולמית. אנחנו מעצמה טכנולוגית עולמית, כי אנחנו מעודדים יזמות ושוק חופשי. לכן, שני הדברים הללו יצר כוח גדול מאוד כלכלי, טכנולוגי, וכוח גדול מאוד מודיעיני צבאי, כוח מאוד גדול. לא ברמה של המעצמות העל, אבל כוח גדול מאוד, הרבה מעבר ליכולתנו ולכוחנו המספרי. ושני הדברים הללו היום מביאים לנו גם כוח שלישי, וזה כוח מדיני, עם בריתות, במשך 60 יום, תקופה של 60 יום עכשיו. הייתי עם הנשיא טראמפ בוושינגטון, הייתי עם הנשיא פוטין בקרמלין, הייתי עם הנשיא שי בבייג'ין, ועוד מעט יגיע הנה ראש ממשלת הודו, מודי, 4 מנהיגים שבאים הנה, המעצמות. מתי היה דבר כזה בתולדות ישראל? זה נובע מהעוצמה שלה. העוצמה הזאת, העוצמה הכלכלית, טכנולוגית, העוצמה הצבאית מודיעינית והעוצמה המדינית, הם הערובה שלנו לטפל באסלאם הרדיקלי סביבנו. הם גם הערובה, זהבה גלאון, להשיג שלום, משום ששלום יעשו עם החזק, אף אחד לא יעשו שלום.
צריך לעשות עם מנהיגים נחושים שרוצים.
So that's one of the big critics of Netanyahu said that he doesn't have a plan. What's going on with the Palestinians? That was a video that kind of explained his point of view. Okay, he more believe in economical peace type, and I think the words talk for themselves. To come and think that, look, Netanyahu, I'll say something that not many know, but during Netanyahu's office, there was the least amount of Palestinian and Israelis that died. Okay, he's a very anti-war prime minister. And if we try and understand him, we need to go back to his father, who have deep roots in the Likud party or in the revisionist party. How long it will last? No one knows. Questions? All right. Okay, that's an interesting, also, it's an interesting video. That's when, you remember Lapid? You guys remember Lapid? He was in That's the guy who ran now with Gantz against Bibi, and he's the one who didn't want to join Bibi, only Gantz, and he's now in the opposition. But this is a video from 2013 when he was sitting in Netanyahu's government. He was the Minister of Treasury, okay? And in that government, the Orthodox were not in the government, okay? And here he's speaking as a Minister of Treasury, and he's talking to the Orthodox Knesset member.
משתתף בצערו של אדוני הזה שאתם לא בקואליציה, אני מבין שזה קשה, ועוברים עליכם ימים לא פשוטים. הוא דיבר על המיסים שהולכים לעלות אל מול הגירעון, והוא דיבר על זה במקום שאני רוצה להיזכר. הממשלה שיצרה את הגירעון הזה, אתם לא הייתם שותפים לה? אתם הייתם עד עכשיו על המאדים? אתם הגעתם רק הבוקר למדינת ישראל? אתם ישבתם בכל ממשלה שהיא כבר 30 שנה, והגירעון הזה רשום על שמכם, אני רק זה שצריך לפתור את הגירעון שאתם יצרתם, וגם לא הייתם החברים הכי זולים בקואליציה הזאת, אני מזכיר לך. זה לא שאתם ישבתם ואמרתם שמתוך דאגה לעם ישראל, אתם החלטתם לקחת פחות כסף מתקציב המדינה. אתה מדבר על שנאה לחרדים. איש אינו שונא אתכם. איש אינו שונא אתכם. רק אני שואל את עצמי, אחרי שאמרנו 7,000 פעם, שאיש אינו שונא אתכם, ואתם ממשיכים לטעון ששונאים אתכם. למה כל כך דחוף לכם להרגיש ששונאים אתכם? למה אתם מוכרחים להרגיש ששונאים אתכם? למה אתם דוחקים את עצמכם לפינה שאין שום סיבה להיות בה? איש אינו שונא אתכם. הדבר היחיד שקרה, חבר הכנסת גפני, זה שאתם לא בקואליציה. זה נקרא דמוקרטיה, חבר הכנסת גפני.
חברי הכנסת, חבר הכנסת איציק כהן, אני רוצה להזכיר לכם, זה נאום הביטולים של שר לפיד, אסור להפריע לו.
עברו כל כך הרבה שנים מאז שהביטולים ואני הוזכרנו ביחד כשר אוצר. אנחנו לא ניתן לאף ילד במדינת ישראל להיות רעב. זו חובתנו לא לדאוג לזה שאף ילד שבמדינת ישראל לא ירעב, ואנחנו נעמוד בה. אבל אני רוצה להזכיר לך עוד דבר. הגוף שאחראי לפרנס ילדים נקרא ההורים שלהם. כשאתה מביא ילד לעולם הזה, חבר הכנסת פרוש, אתה האדם הראשון שאחראי עליו. להביא ילד לעולם הזה זו אחריות כבדה, ואתה צריך להביא ילדים לעולם הזה לא מתוך הנחה שאנשים אחרים יפרנסו אותם, אלא מתוך הנחה שזו חובתך לפרנס את ילדיך. האם אנחנו מסכימים על הדבר הזה? אני מברך אותך. מה שבאמת משעשע זה במשך חודש, האופוזיציה התלוננה על זה שאני לא בא הנה לדבר איתם, וכשבאתי הנה לדבר איתם, הספקתי.
Okay, and it continues and continues. And later on in the video, they even blame Lapid why he posts a Facebook status on Shabbat. And it's a few minutes argument. Why you had to do it on Shabbat? Why you post a Facebook? Why you wrote on Facebook on Shabbat? Lapid represents, as his father, the more secular side in the parliament. And they're back and forth. In the last election, both sides said we're not going to sit with each other. And at the end, we see that they are sitting together. Again, in Rabin's government, they did sit together, Meretz and the Orthodox. And if we go to speak about the Arab Party, it's also something that we hope that will change. In order to get the Arab people, the Arab citizen, the Israeli Arab citizen more involved, and think about the power, the number of seats and the power that the Orthodox have, and the number and seats, the number the seats that our party has, it's almost the same. If they were able to use it the same way that the Orthodox are using it for their sector, it will be a huge difference. Okay, one of the critics that they get, the Arab party members, is from their own people, and it's about the focus of their representative. Leave us alone with the Palestinian issue. Come take care of our cities, take care of our education. We have a sewer in our streets. Okay, go to the government, ask money from the government, just like the Orthodox do for the yeshiva, for their sector, and come and do it for our sector. I'll show you a video, a good video that represented. Okay, so this is the mayor of Nazareth. This is the leader. This is Ayman Uda. He's the leader of the Arab party. Okay, the person you're gonna hear that's screaming on the side soon is the Arab mayor of Nazareth. Okay, so that's an internal thing. He's this is the head of the Arab party, and he's the mayor of Nazareth, also Arab. And he's interviewing about, it was during a conflict with the Palestinians. Questions? Any questions? That's an example. That was live on Channel 2, where the mayor of Nazareth comes and tells the Knesset member, enough. They did riots against the Israeli government because of an attack that Israel did in Gaza, and he come and said, enough with it. You do those riots. The Jewish are not coming to Nazareth now to buy. We don't have money. Enough with the Palestinians. Leave us alone. Come take care of our cities. And it's a process they're going through. There is a change in the Arab-Israeli community, and the election proved that. Many of them came out and vote. We'll see what happened in the next election, hopefully only in 4 years.
Asher, a question came in about if there are Arab Knesset members only in the Arab parties, or are there Arab Knesset members in other parties?
Actually, the first Arab minister was from the Labour Party. The Likud has Druze. No, and that's another question. That's another thing that they trying to get him to join general parties like Likud and Labour, but no, not only. And some of them can. The Likud even have an assigned seat for Druze to the assign. They have assigned seats for women, minorities, and for Jews in their list. So
Clarify, no. What is a Druze? D-R-U-Z-E, Druze.
So no, they are not. Not only in the Arab parties.
No, Asher.
Oh.
Claire, yeah, can you explain what a Druze, D-R-U-Z-E, what is a Druze?
Druze, it's a minority in Israel, not Jewish. They're not. It's a spin-off of Islam. I wouldn't say they're not Muslims, but they're taking part. They speak Arabic, of course, and they're taking part in the Israeli army. One of the best soldiers. I fought next to some of them.
They're loyal to whatever country they live in, correct?
Yeah, they are known to be very loyal to the country they're staying, and that's why they have a lot of conflict with their brothers in the other side of the Golan Heights. The Golan Heights is an area with a lot of Druze, and after Israeli took the Golan Heights, some of their families stayed behind the line in Syria and some stayed in Israel. And now you need to be loyal to where you are. Yeah.
All right, so we are going to need to wrap up in a few minutes. We can open it up now to any questions. It can be something that was covered this evening, or just any question in general that you have about Israel, Israeli politics, about the elections. If you just raise your hand and then you have your video on, then I can call on you, and then we'll take it from there. Thanks. Larry.
What effort has Likud or Blue and White or any of the Jewish parties made to try to mainstream some of the parties in the joint list?
You're asking what they did in order to try and have them join the coalition?
No, not to join the coalition, but to try and get them to be more integrated into Israeli society, because they appear to be totally segregated.
So it's, of course, it's complicated because it's come from both ways. Many of them, first you can see by the representative. The representative have on their agenda not Jewish state. Okay, I have another video. I don't think we have time. I prepared it. Ariel, let me know if there is time. Where they come and ask one of their Knesset member, "Do you believe in two-state solution?" And she said very clear, "I do believe in two-state solution. One of them, it's a Palestinian state, and the second one, it's a democratic state, not a Jewish state. The Jewish have no right to any part of this country." Okay, they don't say to throw the Jews to the ocean like they used to, but they come and say very clear, it shouldn't be a Jewish state. Okay, and their leader, therefore, you can see the leader in no election and never join the government for that reason. They come and say we cannot be in a government if one time there is an attack, they shoot missiles, they're shooting rockets from Gaza, and the IDF will need to attack in Gaza. What happened to the government? They will leave right away. And of course, if they join, they accept the Israeli sovereignty on the Israeli government sovereignty on Israel. But Prime Minister did a lot. There were two actually. It's Rabin and Netanyahu. They did Netanyahu, one of the biggest financial investment was done during Netanyahu, where I don't know if it's because of the reasons, but strategically wise, Netanyahu saw the importance on it, and they do. Look, slowly they are. It's take time, but slowly they are. There is, it's complicated. Every time, many times when there is during the time of the suicide bombs, right? When they blow the buses and hotels, and even recently, the taxi driver that drives them happened to be an Israeli Arab. Many times it happened. It's slowly fading away. They have, ministers and Supreme Court justice and a lot of doctors and pharmaceutical and takes time, but they do invest. They understand the importance of it. And it's come also from the Arab side. They understand that, especially what's happened around them in the Arab and Muslim world, they see the importance of Israel.
Thank you. Other questions? All right. All right, so we will have this as a recording, so anyone who wanted to, anyone who missed it can watch, and anyone who wanted to go back, if there was a certain part you wanted to see, if you wanted to slow down one of those videos, I know with subtitles, it's hard sometimes to watch it only one time, and that will be distributed. And I thank everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.